As a general manager, it's not an easy job. How did you get, very briefly, to this position of such a fantastic hotel like One Aldwych?
Passion, hard work, dedication, and belief, just in short.
So what are the virtues that a person needs to have to reach this? Because a lot of hotel school graduates dream, and their biggest goal is to become general manager of a 5-star luxury hotel.
Perhaps I sound a little bit old-fashioned or old school, but one should work through the ranks. Just a good education is not sufficient. One has to experience as well different departments to know really the inside. A hotel is not just black and white. You have to be really in par to understand hospitality, service, the quality, the guest engagement, the employee engagement. When you understand all that, and you have the financial acumen, then you should be ready to manage a business, a hotel.
A lot of students always ask, what is the right path to general managership? Is it through rooms division? Is it through food and beverage management? Some people say it's a mix of both, to get that knowledge, of the revenue management side of the operation, because rooms is generating your largest revenue. Plus, what is your opinion on that?
Well, I'm biased. I came through F&B, clearly, but I think in today's world it's not important. Things have changed in the past 20, 30 years dramatically and very, very fastly changed. I strongly feel that someone should be an operator rather than basically sales and marketing or let's say accounts-based. I believe an operator has a better understanding of the hotel. So if you're F&B or rooms division, it doesn't really matter as long you do understand the business and you spend some time in the opposite department. If you talk about sales and marketing or financial background, general managers, they're as well very good, but they should always make sure they have a deputy who's very, very strong operator. More and more I find that revenue management is a key of a hotel. It's in the end of the line, it's not only about the guest experience, which is the most important thing in a hotel, but in the end of the line, more hotels have to deliver greater bottom lines. And therefore, if you understand revenue management, yield management very well, it will be of a great advantage.
That's great. So I hope a lot of my students will be watching this one day, because today revenue management is not just practiced in rooms, it's practiced F&B, in events, and in meeting space.
Absolutely. Revenue management goes beyond rooms. It's very small-minded if we think revenue management is only rooms. Some hotels in certain countries in the Middle East have an equivalent revenue stream coming in through F&B. They have 10 or 15 or even 20 F&B outlets and large banqueting facilities, but they have only 200 or 300 rooms.
Right.
So the mainstream is actually the food and beverage. However, the profit margin F&B is slightly lower.
Today, a lot of emphasis is put on revenues and profits, and a lot of hotels start cutting, and one of the biggest areas where they cut is staffing levels. How do you think one needs to balance that to still provide great service to one's guests?
It's a very tough call. As a general manager, you're responsible. You're responsible to your owners, you're responsible to your employees, and you're responsible to your guests. And the payroll, the employees, are the most expensive aspect in a business to run your day-to-day operations. However, in hospitality, the payroll, the people, deliver this service. So if you have the right employees and you cut them back, you will fall short in service, clearly. It depends what kind of establishment you manage. If you manage a 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, or 5-star luxury hotel, you really have to set your priorities right. I still believe there is a limit to how much you can cut back, and you have to scrutinize somewhere else your expenses, or you have to find some other revenue sources to drive the revenues, or you have to consider with your owners, if you consider in a downturn, if you're willing to take a lower profit margin. But this is a decision you have to meet with your owners and decide. I always find that I worked once in a hotel where we had too many employees in the Far East. We were inefficient, and we found out when we had slightly less, about 20% less employees, our employees remaining were far more engaged, and the productivity went up, the engagement went up, and therefore the guest satisfaction and profit margins. So it was the upside of it.
If I asked you for the Stefan Soennichsen definition of quality guest service, what would your definition be?
Engagement, understand your guest. Service is easy, but it's not about gold leaves and technology and wonderful rooms. It's all about how do you service your guest. My best hotel in the world is a tiny 8-room hotel in Venice, family run, husband and wife, and 2 uncles and cousins. And they're for me the best hotel because they know me, they know what service is about, they know how to recommend restaurants. They don't even have their own restaurant, but it's for me the best hotel.
What is so unique about that service?
It's personalized. It's understanding the guest needs. Here at our hotel, at One Aldwych, we insist that our employees are themselves. That we don't talk down to a guest, we don't talk up to a guest, we talk to a guest in the same way as we would talk to friends or family members. And we embrace our guests, we embrace our colleagues. We have a high retention here in this hotel, and more than half of our guests are actually repeated guests in this hotel. And it speaks for itself, their success.
So where do you believe that passion of your employees comes from? Is that what you look for when you're hiring people? Is it a part of the training that you actually give the staff in the hotel to believe in the One Aldwych philosophy of service?
Well, you can train as long as you want and as much as you want. Philosophies, if you're passionate about something, then you're passionate about something. If you're not passionate, you're not passionate. So some employees certainly will come just to do a job. Some employees just come to earn some money. And some employees, they're really on the ball and they want to do more. They have aspirations, they have ambitions. Some have less ambitions and some are just passionate about it. So each of us has a different motivation, I guess, a different driver. But when we look for employees in our hotel, when we recruit, we try to find employees which are engaged, which are natural, which are warm, which are smiley, which are naturally smiley. And usually we get it right. You never get it always right, but usually we get it right. And if an employee stays in London terms longer than 12 months with you, then it's a long term. We managed that our average stay is 3 years and more. 50% of our employees stays here longer than 6 years.
So what advice would you give to hotel school students, hotel school graduates? I'm sure sometimes you see skills that are perhaps lacking in a student. They come away from the hotel school with the necessary theoretical skills, the basic practical skills, the finance, the revenue management. But what skills, do you really think are lacking in hotel school graduates today?
People skills. With all the web-based information one can gather, and if you look at especially younger people today, they spend a lot of time on the computers, on Facebook, Twitter, and various blogs and social websites, which is all fantastic, and that's where it goes. I just feel people skills have to be learned. You can't read about it, you can't teach them. You learn to understand people, you learn to engage with people in different ways than when you read about it. So as more they spend time with people, engage, younger, older, male, female, as more you engage with people, as more you learn to deal with it. And I think this will help them to grow very fast. And today's young people are so much more advanced than when I was younger. Oh, young. Much.
You're still young.
Yeah, right. But I think the young guns today, they have such an advance to us when we grew up. I mean, we had none of these. We had fax
Correct.
machines came out. And when people today want to apply, they can send out 50 CVs at a push of a button. We went to the mailbox and everything. So today's students have opportunities which we had to take a totally different approach for and work far harder for it. So the world is far more global as well. So these young kids, they have opportunities which are immense.
So what do you think hotel schools today should be doing to better prepare their graduates for this very demanding industry?
try to send them out as much as possible. Try to get them engaged, to have a dialogue with hoteliers, and try to make them understand what's really about. It's not about climbing the ladder very fast. It's when you go up that you really understand what you do and that you deliver the very best for the purpose of what we are doing. We talk about hospitality here. We don't deliver a good, we don't produce a good. We deliver service, and service has to be learned and has to be really understood. And it's defined by everyone differently. And in many hotels these days, a hotel experience is defined by changing a plastic card, which is your credit card, to a key card. And then you find your way yourself to a hotel room, which is a standard hotel room like every other room. And that's your experience you have. Maybe the check-in or the booking process beforehand. If you want to work in a hospitality which is defined by upmarket or luxury hospitality, it is the engagement of individuals which makes a difference. Anyone today can build a nice hotel or invest into a beautiful piece of real estate or room. So it's the people which make the difference.
In your opinion, because a lot of our current and past and future students will be watching this podcast, what is the difference between our excellent CV and a poor CV?
Wow, that's a very good question. A CV, you can look at it in 10 different ways, and I believe every person looking at a CV will have different opinions on how to look at it. For me, it's very important that there's some consistency in an employment. If I employ someone today, I really would like to see that this person has stayed in a place for a while. I'm not talking about necessarily 15 years or 20 years. I'm talking about, depending on the youth of the individual and on the advancement in the career, that the person has some reliability and consistency, stayed a year or two, let's say. Then I would like to see some career advancement from position to position, or from location to location, or job to job. I would like to see as well that this person is able to describe what the person has actually achieved in their role and what they have gained. And when it comes to CV, there's a cover letter. I would like to see the expectation of the potential employee coming to me. What does this person expect? Can we meet the expectation of the employee? It's always a two-way street.
Right.